Evening everybody, welcome back to PSGL for the pre-season race here in the F3 League. Some extremely fast drivers in this league, and we will talk more about why that is later. And once again, you've got myself, Luke Etheridge, and Sam Thompson taking you through the action tonight, starting off with the pre-season race, the Bahrain Grand Prix. And this, Sam, a circuit the drivers will have been familiar with last season and might just be a bit of a chance to see what the form is going to be, because we've got a lot of drivers that have had to come down from F2 because line is no longer allowed in F2. So this is the highest league that allows the drivers to use racing line.
Yeah, and it's going to be a very interesting season indeed. A lot of new faces on this grid this season. So many, like you said, who've come down from F2 to join F3, and maybe a few who've come from F4 to join F3 as well. I cannot see anyone who was F4 who's now in F3, if I could just be corrected with that. I think Dynastics is probably the only one that I can remember. But there's not even many people who were in F3 last season in this tier, is there? Most of the grid is F2 drivers here. Look at Faz, of course, finishing third in the championship last season in F2. Lakitu, Pat, Name Changer, I think Benny was in there as well. M Short, Compassion, Chapelele, Gonanen, I think Cedric was there as well. Lorenz, who is Kirax, if anyone didn't know. And I think that is it. So pretty much half the grid for this F3 season is from F2. So, like you said, a very fast grid.
Yes, definitely. We had some drivers doing quite well. BRT Faz was actually third in F2 last season. You've got Name Changer, who won this very race in Bahrain as well, so he'll be hoping for a good performance. Dynastics won it as well in F4, so it'll be interesting to see how he copes with the bump up in the leagues. If you're not familiar with PSGL and how the format's going to work for season 27, a bit less races than there were last year, only 12 races. The season opener next week in Australia, and then the season finishes in March with the Japanese Grand Prix. So 12 races for the drivers to sink their teeth into. And they will want to all get a good start. You don't want to be in a short season chasing the championship in the early stages.
Oh, God, no. And, you know, if you... At the end of the day, like, it's only a 12-round season, isn't it, at the end of the day? So it's very, very difficult for drivers to set fast laps. Sorry, not fast laps. Have a good season from the start. But you cannot be slow this season. You must get out very quickly.
Yes, and we have got a few drivers getting out quickly in this qualifying. Like a lot of leagues, 18-minute short qualifying session and then a 50% race around this Bahrain International Circuit. First used in 2004. They've only used 2 layouts around here so far. By next week, they'll have used 3 layouts, of course, with the outer layout. Cone Masters, get your finger out, get it added to the game. You don't have to do a lot of work for that one compared to the other circuits, let's be honest. 17 drivers here tonight. Anyone that you're thinking could maybe pull a surprise or could be an early favourite for the championship?
Well, obviously, we've got to look at the obvious ones. You've got Faz up there, Lakitu as well, very quick drivers in F2. Chapelele is a good mention in there as well. We won't see him tonight. I don't think we see... Actually, we will see Lakitu tonight, but I think Chapelele is a good one to come out with. Pat as well is a good one to look at. And obviously Compassion as well, and a bunch of others. There's a lot of the guys from F2 who have got to mention. We've also got to think about Ginger, of course, who finished second in the championship last season in F3 and who was very close to Kalsper towards the end of the season, and actually probably on the pace of Kalsper come the end of the season. So they will be ones to watch as well. But you know, we've got to think drivers throughout the season, they do get quicker or they could get slower, and they could also make a lot of mistakes, as I just saw a mistake from Lorenz in the Williams.
Yes, on board with that. Just had a slight little twitch, and this circuit can be quite unforgiving. But let's go on board then for a lap around this track with Faz on the medium tyres, the alternate strategy, ever powerful around this circuit. Heavy braking then just after the 150 metre board as you head into turn 1. Short shifting up for the gears to get you that additional bit of traction coming through turn 2 and turn 3. Up the hill now, DRS open once again on the run into turn 4. Quite often you see cars trying it on the inside and the outside round turn 4, and the battles can carry on through this little S section here. 5, 6 and turn 7. Watch out for that curb on the exit, can easily spin you around, and then heavy braking again. One of the slowest parts of the track for turn 8. Faz just locking up the front right ever so slightly, and expect to see the front left getting locked up through 9 and 10. One of the trickiest braking zones possibly on the entire F1 calendar as you brake and steer for that corner. Another DRS zone then as you head your way down now towards turn 11. Not really the easiest place to overtake despite it being a DRS zone. Medium speed corner taken at about 100 miles an hour, 160 kilometres. Turn 12 then, another curb that you need to watch out for on the inside, and you brake as you come into the final sector at turn 13. The rear of the car just stepping out ever so slightly there for Faz. Under braking, managed to get away with it though. Down the back straight now into the double apex right-handers of 14 and 15. Get early on the throttle for this 1 kilometre start-finish straight. DRS open. Faz heads towards the line on a 126.349. And interestingly, it's Dynastics, the man from F4, setting the early pace.
Well, we do know he's in the team NWS, of course, who feature in BDG's event, which is TRS F1, which comes later this week. So obviously he's probably been preparing with the guys for this track, because this is the track also that will feature later this week. So he's probably done a bit of practice with the team, which has probably helped him. But we can only really assume that he could just be very quick this season. And although he was in F4, he didn't win F4, did he? That was Kazoy, who is now in F2. But I think Dynastic is one to watch out this season, because he did seem fair quick in F4. I didn't see much of him, but, you know, moving up to F3 and also being in a team like NWS, which does have a lot of quick guys around you, you could become very inspired and motivated to improve. And, well, up in second at the moment, but it is only early days. And obviously, again, we do have to remind people that this is pre-season. Probably people have had different levels of practice, and also probably just a sort of difference in how much they bother about this round.
Yeah, we won't really get a true indication of the form until a few races into the season. Lakitu, one of the fast drivers to come down then, a 125.122, and I know it's a very early stage of the season, but if I had to have some early favourites maybe for the Constructors title, I would say watch out for Renault with Faz and Lakitu. Both of them top 10 in F2 last season, and I'm sure they will cope well with the move down. Most of the drivers then have set their first initial lap times, and it is interesting that Faz was the only driver to go out on the set of the medium tyres, because that alternate strategy, quite often with a short qualifying on F1, and especially around Bahrain, you want to be starting 11th around here, and then you can use a set of medium and hard tyres, and you'll be in a really good stead to possibly win the race.
I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll be seeing some rain in the race. I mean, it's very unlikely. I'm pretty sure this is either on dynamic or clear. I'm sure it's not customly set to rain, but really, I think it's just these drivers, they just want to see where their pace is at, and perhaps this is why a lot of them have decided just to go on the soft tyres for all their rounds. They don't really worry about where they are at tonight in terms of in the race, because it don't really mean nothing if you win this. It only really means that you've got the momentum in your swing, really, which is a big factor in this playing field. However, no points tonight, so whoever wins will not be top of any sort of table, but they would most certainly have it in their swing to possibly be in the best momentum or the best form for the start of the season. But, you know, as we saw last season, both the Renault started very strong, didn't they? They started very strong in pre-season in Mexico, and, you know, they ended up being not particularly that high up in the constructors.
No, definitely. It was Pit Matt and Cherry Tupai, the Reynolds, with a very good performance at Mexico, and didn't really show that same performance. But if you do put in a good result, doesn't necessarily mean you'll be sticking in F3. It was Will, of course, who won the pre-season race in F3 last year, got himself moved up to F2. So if any of these drivers aren't using line and feel like they put in a good enough performance tonight, who knows, maybe a big C might shift them up into the F2 league, where they will have a chance of winning a prize, thanks to our sponsors Brutal Democracy, who are giving prizes to the winners, well, the top 3 in F1, the winner of F2, and the top 3 in the brand new Xbox, well, I was going to say Xbox PSGL, XBGL. I think it's the best way to describe that one, and that will be on Thursday evening. So they'll be making their debut this Thursday, and the first official season race will be tomorrow, with the Formula Performance as well on Tuesday night. On board then with Black Phoenix, a very consistent driver last season. It wouldn't be surprising to see him near the top once again.
Yeah, Black Phoenix was very consistent, but I don't believe he really won much. He may have won one race, but that was really just about it, which was quite unfortunate, really. I'm looking at Black Phoenix this season. He actually didn't win a single race, and obviously finishing third in the championship to Ginger, but he has experience of being up there. Obviously, previously, before that, was second in F2 in PSGL, but he's back in F3 this season. He's in 5th place at the moment, and well, I think he'll be looking to put in a good impression tonight, because obviously his closest competitor, Ginger, is just ahead of him.
Yes, and look how close it is. Once again, we said this a lot last season, qualifying's always been exceptionally close. At the moment, the top 8 drivers are separated by 0.2 of a second, so Black Phoenix doesn't need much of an improvement to get himself up onto pole position for now, and he has found that improvement. 124.774, great job there from Black Phoenix. He goes on to provisional pole position with 8.5 minutes remaining. NWS Benny here now heading towards the line in the Ferrari with the Schumacher helmet, only getting him up to 8th position at the moment, but still a very respectable lap time in these early stages. And I know I've said it a few times already, but I'm still surprised no one else has thought about just giving the mediums a try to see what their pace is. But looking how Faz is doing, maybe that's the reason why. Maybe they're just not working over one lap, and it's just better to start outside the top 10 and have a fresh set of the mediums rather than trying to get into the top 10 on them.
I just think it's not really necessary to use the mediums really in this qualifying session. I think everyone, again, is probably just thinking about, let me just show off my pace, let me just show how quick I can go, and people just probably won't be worrying about the strategy too much or where they finish tonight, because at the end of the day there's not much you're really playing for. And again, you'll get those people who will try and sandbag and everything as well, and play mind games with people saying, oh, they've dropped off. People are like, oh, they're no longer that good anymore, and then they come out first round guns blazing and end up getting the win. So that does happen, and perhaps Faz, or more likely Lakitu, being down at 11th, is probably thinking about something like that right now.
Yes, and maybe, if, like I said, if Connor wants to move you up to F2, maybe you're thinking, do I want to go that quick? Do I want to absolutely smash the field at the early stage? Do what Carlsberg did with his supreme run of 10 wins in 14 races. If we get anywhere near that level of dominance, it'll be very surprising indeed, I think. I think even Carlsberg was surprised with how well he did last season. On board again then with Lorenz, one of 2 drivers yet to set a lap time at the moment. Only him and Cedric not setting a time. It's still Black Phoenix on top. Then it is Lewis, M Short, Name Changer, Dynastics, Pat, Ginger, Benny, Sevvet, and Flying Finn, as Dynastics now goes fastest with a 124.757. The time's starting to come down as the track evolution takes place. Across the track, rubbering in as you go on throughout the session, so you really want to be out there as late as possible just to get the best possible lap time. They're not allowed to use any slipstreams, of course, from their teammates, as Pat now goes fastest and Lorenz up into 5th position. It's looking extremely close at the moment. Another driver who I'm interested to see how he does this season is Flying Finn. Last year he was known mainly as Lars. He's now with the CGT team and changed back to his original Flying Finn name. He definitely showed potential last season, especially in the early stages, and then it all just seemed to fall apart. So it's interesting to see whether this fresh start is going to be good for him.
I tell you what, he was one of the almost the most inconsistent drivers, but it weren't really inconsistency that was playing the factor. It was more the fact that he was just getting in the wrong positions at the wrong time, and sometimes, well, mainly were his fault. Of it as well. We look back at Hungary, we look back at Vietnam, and I think there's a bunch of other races as well we can look back up, but those 2 remain in my head strictly. I believe also at Bahrain he was on for a good result and he screwed it over by just attacking a little too hard, making silly mistakes. I think it was turn 4 he went into the back of someone, getting himself wing damage. But I think with Lars this season, if he really wants to be up there, if he really wants to be fighting with the top dogs, he needs to stop these mistakes, and he needs to start really pushing himself to that next limit. He's got a good teammate there in VLT Compassion, who did come down from F2. Didn't see much of Compassion in F2. However, it's a good fresh start for Compassion as well, who will be looking to possibly get a few more points as well. And, well, for both of them, they both got something to prove this season, and that's if they can challenge with the top guys. And early on right now, 12th and 13th, is not really doing it for any of us.
No, it's not looking like the move from the black Mercedes to the pink Mercedes is working for Flying Finn. I'm just taking the mickey out of Kryptonite in the chat, and I'm probably going to pay for that in Thursday when he's commentating on me in F11, so maybe I shouldn't insult his driving abilities anymore. And we'll see what BRT Faz is doing, and he has invalidated his lap coming through turn 4. One of the places you probably do see the most invalidations on this track is just that run up the hill into turn 4. It is a bit easy to just run too wide and invalidate your lap in this session, and he's going to have to get a move on because he's last at the moment on the soft tyres. But again, probably not too concerned if he ends up qualifying a long way down the grid. Back on board then with Black Phoenix, probably his final run, 300ths of a second at the moment off of Pat, and that only gets you into 3rd position. That is how close it's going to be, and you are not going to want to miss any of the races here in F3 this season in our new time slot, slightly earlier than last year. We are now 7 PM at Mondays. I mean, if you're already watching this, you already know that. So, well done you for finding the correct timing. And Black Phoenix is improving again. 800ths of a second. Very, very close there to running off the track limits. He's pushing as hard as possible. He wants his more for pride, and that's really the only thing you're fighting for. Is a bit of bragging rights in this first race of the season, just to say, yeah, I'm going to be pretty good, and you're going to have to watch out for me. 124.631 puts him into 2nd because Seb Vet's gone fastest in front of him. 124.592 for the Haas driver.
Well, I don't think Seb Vet was even in PSGL last season, but I tell you what, he's come out with a bit of an impression, like you said, of bragging rights, and he's come out of nowhere really to set that lap. A 24.5, that is a pretty quick lap, and we've still got 2 minutes to go, and I do reckon that possibly could be beaten, but I mean, that is some sort of statement right there. He's new to the league. I don't think many people know who he is, and well, he's just come out and got pole position at the moment, and I reckon after seeing that, Pat, Louis, Dynastics, maybe Lorenz, and drivers behind will be looking to maybe change that very soon, and perhaps a few others as well who are outside, who I think have probably got the pace to be challenging towards the top position. So at the moment, a very, very good show from Seb Vet to put himself on pole for now, but I do feel like there will be people coming back to beat that.
Yes, most of the drivers are now just heading out on their outlap. It is Phoenix, Vet, and Rist who are a bit more out of sync. Rist, one of the reserve drivers here at PSGL. He is reserving tonight in the AlphaTauri in place of Shapalele, who he's another driver. Shapalele, he's quick, but there's a reason why his nickname's Bottalele at times. He when he's on it, he is very good. When he's not on it, he can make a few silly mistakes, and maybe in a similar way to Lars, perhaps.
I won't really compare him with Lars. Lars is usually mistakes that he's enforced on himself. Like, it's usually just silly mistakes at going into the back of drivers, like we've seen quite often. With Shapalele, it's just losing the car. He's basically the Seb Vettel, and I'm sorry to any Sebastian Vettel fans out there. He's basically the Sebastian Vettel of this tier, and whether that has changed this season, whether he will not keep bottling and, resurrect that name, Bottalele, well, who knows what he can do this season. I think he's one to watch this season, but again, if he is still in that habit like he has been in the previous game, and obviously in previous seasons as well, if he is still gonna keep bottling, he's probably going to be outside the title hunt pretty quick.
Yeah, you really do. As we said, you need to hit the ball rolling early on here. Lakitu with a good lap up into 5th position for him then in the Renault. That will be his final chance in this session. We have now got, Compassion's trying to make it to start his lap in time, and unless we've got the timing glitch, he might run out of time here. It doesn't look like he's going to get himself another lap set, so it looks like Compassion is going to be starting 15th at best. A bit of a nightmare there when it comes to the timing for him. Let's see what Louis can do now. He's backed off on his lap, letting Pat go, who's 200ths down at the moment, but if he nails this final sector, can definitely work his way up onto the front row of the grid. What's it going to be for the Williams driver? Doesn't improve in the end, slightly up on his final sector, but only good enough to stay in third place for now. Lorenz, he's improving ever so slightly. Could he possibly even challenge his teammate or challenge for a front row slot on the grid? In the end, he stays in 7th place. Lost a bit of time in the final sector. Lars there going up into 4th place. Great job from him. Zach was another driver in F3. Took a few wins last season. Can only work his way up into 9th. Dynastics, his teammate Benny's come round the final corner. He is in 15th. Who else? We've got M Short going fastest now with a 124.579. Dynastics coming towards the finish line. Now he takes pole position with a 124.516. Great job from him. Faz heads towards the line. Can only work his way up into 14th. We've then had Ginger's gone up to 5th. Cedric has invalidated. And with so many drivers from F2 that we've been talking about, it's the man from F4 who's taken pole position in this pre-season race.
Wow, well done to Dynastics, I must say, and I think that's a bit of an interesting impression coming from me. He finished second, of course, in F4, so he did deserve the promotion, getting 3 victories in F4. But I mean, that's kind of surprising, really. I wasn't expecting that at all. I was expecting to see some of the F2 drivers from last year, including M Short, who I believe actually did perform fairly well in F2 for the races he had. In F2, he did perform fairly well, and well, he got that 2nd place in F2, didn't he? So, really, interestingly, I think this is rather surprising. I think nobody was really expecting an F4 driver to be on pole at the moment, and maybe there's possibly a little bit of complacency there, perhaps from the F2 drivers. The quickest one on there, that was in F2 last season, down in 6th. So, F3 drivers showing who's boss, perhaps, and well, who knows? This could be a very exciting race. New faces, F3 and F4 drivers making up the top 5.
Yes, definitely. I mean, to be fair, it was very close between F2, F3, F4 last season. Dynastics with Paul, Short, Seb Vet, Black Phoenix, Ginger, Lakitu, Pat, Flying Finn, Louis, Lorenz, your top 10. You've got Zach, Name Changer, Cedric, Fast, Rist, Benny, and Compassion. The rest of the runners. I mean, so close at the moment. We're talking top 14 drivers separated by half a second. The top all 17 separated by less than 0.6 of a second. It's going to be like that all season. One slight mistake in qualifying, that's going to make the difference between pole position and back of the grid most likely. And with DRS trains, especially around a circuit like Bahrain where there's 3 DRS zones, on paper you think that'd make it easy to overtake. But because of the DRS trains in the dirty air, if you're the 3rd car in that train, it's very difficult.
Well, this could be a very interesting race, and obviously Bahrain knows itself as one of the most... It's a driver favourite, isn't it? Because this track is very easy to overtake. There's very good battles usually going on the track, but obviously we have that sort of nemesis of the DRS trains, and that can kind of ruin it. But I do feel like we are going to see a lot of tasty action, and knowing how quick these drivers are and everything, and how close they all are together to each other, I wonder if there will be drivers looking to take more risks today, because obviously, again, this isn't a race for the championship. You will not get points. The only thing that really you'll be getting is probably a little bit of a boost in confidence, or just a little bit of momentum in your swing. We have Callum Snell or Kalsper, as he's well known as in the chat. He's saying this is a sweaty lobby. Good job I took the title last season. I mean, who knows? You should have really turned up really this season, and who knows? You could have been fighting there again, defending your title, or alternatively being in F2. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see. You'll probably be signing up later this season. But I mean, all about this F3 grid though, it looks fairly close, and well, we've got probably a really exciting season ahead.
Yes, we have got a really exciting season, and it is going to start with this really exciting pre-season race. 29 laps around the Bahrain International Circuit. We knew the top 10 were on the soft tyres. Outside of the top 10, we've got Zach, Cedric and Rist on the mediums, Name Changer, Fast, Benny and Compassion on the hard tyres. It'll be really interesting to see how some of those XF2 drivers do down there, especially Name Changer, 12th place, and he did win. This race last season was by far his best result in F2. I don't think we can mention Bahrain without mentioning the events, obviously, of yesterday's Grand Prix. Our wishes and everyone's wishes here at PSGL with Romain Grosjean and his recovery from that absolutely horrific crash. I don't think there's pretty much anything more needs to be said about that. Just a miraculous escape, really.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I don't really want to talk about it too much, since obviously it's a little different to the situation we've got here. But again, I do agree, like, at the end of the day, like, as an F1 fan, you have to realise, like, the dangers that drivers in real life put themselves in. In some sense, on here, drivers do put themselves in some sort of danger as well. There's people who do put their force feedback settings up way too high and then end up having their wheels slam them on the hand, and I believe there has actually been a driver who has broke their wrist before because of that. So obviously that's a very extreme sort of comparison, really, because that is so unlikely to happen in this. But in terms of real life and everything, drivers do risk it all on here. In some sense, you don't have that much risk, but these drivers do play it very professionally, and they do play it to the best standards, especially up and this high and this speed, because everyone likes to be fighting with the best.
Yes, they all want to be fighting with the best. They all want to prove that they are the best, and even though there's no points for tonight, you can guarantee that might even spice up the action just a little bit more, because I know they've really not got much to lose, as we do now wait for the lights to come on then for this pre-season race here at PSGL. And we have now got 5 lights. And we're underway in Bahrain. It seems like a fairly good start then by Dynastics. Black Phoenix getting a fantastic run from the second row of the grid, and he might even think about challenging his teammate into turn 1 here. Dynastics can just sweep around the outside though to retain that lead. Short and Phoenix getting very close together in the 2 McLarens, and that's compromised both of their exits. Lakitu getting ahead of Seb Vet, and Ginger looking as though he wants to get involved in this battle as well, as they go 3 wide now, down up towards turn 4 for that battle for 4th place. And Ginger in the end getting back ahead of Lakitu. You've got Pat on the outside trying to get involved in all this as well. Dynastic stays in the lead. Short, Phoenix, Vet, Ginger, Lakitu, Lorenz, Pat, Louis, Flying Finn. Does look like, as I say, everyone's got through the first few corners cleanly. Wrist has had an off through turn 7. Can't see if there is any damage to his car, but he is able to carry on. Absolutely fantastic start from Dynastics. No. And
Williams drivers getting almost together there. In turn 9, turn 10, Pat just hit the back of Lorenz there, and I thought for a moment Lorenz was round, but he saved it perfectly. But Pat's got by now, but really a clean start from most. But really, at the first couple of corners, there was a huge cluster of drivers just bunched up together, and it was very tricky. I believe it was down up to, I think it was Seb Vet who was the one in front, and then behind him there was about 4 cars going wide through turn 1, 2 and 3. So very interesting start, and just a lot of battles going on the track, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, a lot of battles are going on, as you would obviously expect in these early stages. Dynastics, though, absolutely perfect start from him. The 2 McLarens managing to not come together. It did look an almost certainty that they were going to come together, as we are actually going to have an early pit stop then, and it is Benny. I wonder if he made contact with Wrist. They were close to each other. A set of the medium tyres going on. Front wing change, so he will be pitting again, or perhaps hoping for a safety car, maybe just to save him in these early stages. It's only a pre-season race, but you do want to put in a good performance. On board now with the runner-up in this league last season, Ginger. Not a bad start to the race from him whatsoever in the Alpha Tauri. He has actually he's maintained position just about. Black Phoenix got it absolutely perfect though. Off the start line, came very close to challenging his teammate for second place, and if he hadn't have been blocked as much by M. Short, he'd have probably made that move stick.
Yeah, Black Phoenix looking to the outside, of course, of that corner is quite difficult to perfect, but if you do stick there, you then have the inside line for turn 2, and crucially, if you just get the traction down, which I'm sure Black Phoenix could have possibly done, he would have been into second place, but his teammate denying him, and perhaps there are a few teams here who probably don't really have too much knowledge of each other at the moment, and perhaps they're just looking to make themselves the number 1 driver, if that makes some sort of sense. And perhaps that's what these two are going to struggle to really believe, because both of them look to be towards the front right now, and I don't think any of them are thinking about giving up on that.
No, they are going to keep fighting, and McLaren, reigning Constructors' champions, partly mostly in fact to Carlsberg, even Toxic admits he was carried a bit last season despite picking up the odd podium. This could be interesting now. DRS is enabled. That straight you've just seen Seb Vet go down with Ginger behind him is the first one that they're going to be able to use, and the three leaders, they've got away from these four, well, the guys behind them, Vet, Ginger, and there's quite a big gap as well between Ginger and Pat, so not as many DRS trains at the front of the field as you would expect.
Yeah, Seb Vettel's fallen back a little bit, hasn't he, in fourth place? He's fell back quite a bit, not too much, but obviously, like you said, he's not going to get the DRS, and Ginger's going to be ramping up to get back behind him and probably meet up again with Black Phoenix sooner or later in this race. But Pat's fallen back quite a fair bit, but he's got Lakitu to worry about, and I wonder if those two have been squabbling a little bit, because there was a position change earlier in the lap, so I wonder if that has compromised a bit of time from Pat, but only time will tell, because he is keeping up with the pace of Ginger now, but he's just not closing in to the Alpha Tauri driver in fifth.
No, and it is going to be difficult to close up, because obviously Ginger's got the DRS, so could maybe just save a bit of his ERS. It's not looking like he's going for any saving right now. We come on to lap 4. He's after position number 4, straight down the inside of Seb Vet. That should be a straightforward move into turn 1, but there is another detection point, so he might have to go on the defensive on the run down to turn 4. But just look at the traction. He's got away from that corner. There's absolutely no chance of Seb Vet getting close to him, and from that camera angle, I'm trying to work out if there is some front wing damage on that Haas car. I think it's the black end plate looks to still be there. It is quite a tricky colour to notice, but it does still look as though that end plate is there. Further down the field, there's some battling going on here for 14th position. At the moment, they're fighting all the way through. Compassion, name changer, just ahead of these guys. And then you've got Cedric. Oh! Zach is out of the race in a virtual safety car.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. I think he's just got caught that curb of the exit of turn 8. Sorry, turn 7. The exit of turn 7, that outside curb is very dangerous, I must say. If you catch too much of it, it's very bumpy. It unsettles your car a lot. And because of that, obviously, I'm guessing Zach's just lost control of his car completely, and straight into the wall he goes, and out of the race he goes in the end. So for Zach, it's a shame, but I mean, at the moment, he wasn't really on for anything special, I suppose, but Zach's out of this race, and, well, virtual safety car won't really do much for this grid.
Oh, and I was just going to say, M. Schultz left the session, and Dynastics has got a drive-through penalty for speeding under the VSC, and Dynastics decides, I'm instantly going to serve that, and Black Phoenix, I think, might have picked up one as well, so the race leader's no longer in the session. Ginger is still carrying on, and we're seeing Seb Vet come in. I wonder if did he have a penalty, or is this just a scheduled pit stop off of the soft tyres? No, it is a pit stop for the Haas car. He's going to put a set of the hards on, hoping that they can take him towards the end of the race. And this race has suddenly turned on its head.
Well, I don't know what happened to Dynastic and Black Phoenix as well. Both of them getting drive-through penalties. We're not sure if that was the game playing tricks on them, because these drivers usually are quite experienced, or they've just made the mistake and, you know, it's cost them. And, well, trial and error, I suppose. M. Short has left the session, though. That is quite harsh on him. He was running a very good race. Pat is now going to get by him very soon, I would suppose, unless he gets back, but doesn't look likely. So now Ginger leads this race, but of course we do know that Seb Vet has pitted, and we'll have to just wait and see whether he can get to, whether he can make up enough time to get back at Ginger.
And there has been a spinner then coming out of turn 10. Lakitu in the Renault. He's managed to carry on without any damage, but he has now dropped behind his teammate and behind Name Changer as well, who did pick up a 3-second penalty, and he was pretty close to Zach on track. So I'm not sure whether there'd been maybe a tiny bit of contact or whatever that has happened. Obviously, it is the pre-season race, but if you do anything a bit too against the rules, you can still find yourself getting penalised, which is not something that you would hope to happen. Ginger, though, lap 6, looking fairly comfortable at this moment in the time, as well, as comfortable as he can do on those older soft tyres, as Lakitu drops down the order into the pits, perhaps just overheating those softs ever so slightly. He will be going on to a set of hards, and again, hoping they take him towards the end of the race. Will drop down to 15th position for now. Close battles out on track, though. This one now for second position. You've got the two Williams, Louis, and the back of it, Flying Finn, trying to make his way up. His teammate, however, has just been passed by Wrist, so that puts the AlphaTauri driver up into the top 10.
Yeah, and you look at M Short, he's fallen so far back now, and the Wrist is a surprising one. He's up to 10th place already, ahead of Compassion. Compassion's fell back a ton then, I must say. Unless he's had some sort of moment, but he's fallen back quite a bit because I believe Wrist was about 4 seconds behind the back of the grid, which obviously he's got by now. And Compassion hasn't even made a stop, so either Compassion has had a slow start of the virtual safety car, or Wrist has just been generally much quicker, and well, that is a bit controversial. Race leader Ginger getting a 3-second penalty this early on, so he would not like to see that one.
No, and I don't think Lakitu's liking this race whatsoever because he's been into the wall again somewhere out on circuit. Big damage to his front wing. He's going to have to come into the pits, and it's fair to say this has been a pre-season race to forget for him so far. But again, there's no point. Maybe you're just pushing a bit hard. Maybe you're just trying a few different things out with the setup. We are seeing the first one of the leaders, well, the second one of the leaders, I should say, to come in, as Seb Vetz has been in earlier. Hard tyres again going on Lorenz. He should come out comfortably behind the Haas driver, but with 2 lap fresher tyres, and that could make all the difference towards the end of the race. This circuit really does kill the tyres. Imagine what it'd be like for these drivers if it was still a daytime race with the extra heat.
It'd be very, very tricky to get around, and we've seen Lakitu make a couple of spins, of course, as well, to add to that, so obviously the drivers will be struggling. And thinking about Lakitu, he's got a 5-second penalty. Usually this is an indication that they're just about to retire. Well, he didn't retire, but he left the session, so it did show one of the indications. But yeah, these drivers would have been begging to get off these soft tyres by now if it was in the daylight. Luckily it's not, so the track temperature should be cooler right now, and I believe these soft tyres will go an extra few laps. Interestingly though, for Seb there, I can't see him doing a one-stop. He's gone onto the hard tyres, but they will not last to the end of the race, because we saw last season people pitting around lap 6, lap 7 time, and they were getting punches. We saw Ginger obviously infamously get a puncher that season. Pat comes into the pit, so I'm just waiting to see what sort of is up Seb Vetz's sleeve, and perhaps he's thinking later on in the race there'll be a safety car.
I think that is definitely what he's hoping for. I was going to say, if you're pitting that early, the virtual safety car had just ended, so whether he was caught unawares and thought it was still going on and trying to get a cheaper pit stop, like you said, it was Ginger whose slim hopes of a title really extinguished here, heading into turn 1 on the final lap last time out in Bahrain in season 26, but he got a puncture as he was following Carlsberg. He's having a good race though at the moment, despite that penalty, 3.8 seconds ahead at the moment. The gap back to Seb Vetz is currently 22 seconds, so even with him doing a pretty decent job at this moment in time, Ginger leading the race, and Flying Finn and Louis getting pretty close to each other at the moment.
Yeah, Louis struggling on those tyres, so it looks like a big lock-up through turn 9, turn 10, and that's lost him so much time there. I wonder if he'll be thinking about pitting this lap. And these drivers are getting very... These drivers are finding it very difficult now to find the grip on the soft tyres. M Short wants an invite. I'll sort that out now because no one else is doing that. But it looks like these drivers should be coming in very, very soon.
Yes, I think either this lap or next lap is when you will see a lot of these drivers come into the pits. Ginger's fairly sure he wants it to be next time around. And here we go, Flying Finn into the pits. Louis, perhaps unsurprisingly, doing the opposite. The undercut is very powerful around here, but who knows if that extra lap of life towards the end of the race will turn out to be good. And look, who after not the best qualifying, but going on the hard tyres, is doing a fairly good job at the moment. BRT_Faz up into third place. He's going to be one to watch later on in the race. He's aiming, obviously, to stretch those hards out long enough so that he can maybe go on to a set of the soft tyres, and then he's just going to be lightning quick.
Yeah, once he'll try and do hard medium, though. I know, obviously, he's going to be lightning quick on the softs, but the durability of the softs is absolutely terrible around here. Of course, you're probably only fair off doing 5 laps before those softs are actually slower than fresh mediums, for example. So I wonder if hard mediums is the game, but hard softs is obviously probably what he'll probably be be thinking towards the end. However, he's in third place and he's got really good pace on those hard tyres. 5 seconds clear of Cedric, and now he's going to get past Louis, who's on old soft, so already showing now that the hards are probably on the same level, if not quicker, than the soft tyres now. So for Faz, this is really good news.
Yeah, really good news. We said earlier, turn 11's not normally an overtaking point. He's just got so much extra grip on those tyres. Just saying he's used to taking a gamble, so seems to be working out for him so far. On board then with the race leader, who I am expecting to head towards the pits, and this is going to be interesting to see where he comes out. He will be behind Seb Betts, I'd imagine. He was behind him before the pit stops. Where it could be interesting to see is where he comes out relative to the Williams drivers, because Lorenz has actually managed to jump Pat, and we have got Lorenz now coming around the final couple of corners. Hard tyres on for Ginger, hard tyres on for Louis. Really the only strategy for those on the soft tyres at the start of this race. Seb Betts takes then the net lead. Ginger coming out of the pits. It's going to be pretty close with the two Williams drivers who are fighting into turn one. Ginger's come out right in the middle of all this. There's a bit of a squeeze between them. You can't go 3 wide round turn 2 and 3. You can't do it without something happening somehow. Somehow we've all managed to get clear for now, and it's just who brakes latest, who is bravest into turn 4. Ginger round the outside on those fresh tyres. Great job from all of them, really. And they're still going on the two Williams. Patton, there's been contact. Pat on Lorenz just made a bit of contact there. They've both spun round now. And I'm surprised that didn't happen earlier, to be honest. It did a good job for it not to happen through turn 2. Just a slight bit of contact, and we know how easy it is on this game. If you're the car behind and you get a tap, you go round.
Yeah, and I think Dynastics would have been having a heart attack there. Out of nowhere, Lorenz was on the track. He just spun around, and it looked like he'd come out of ghosting. And Dynastics was right there, and he didn't realise until the last second that he would do that. And Dynastics was locking up and everything. He went through Lorenz, but that's just not helped this day at all. And well, the two Williams drivers, you're meant to be teammates, but these two have obviously had a little bit of fire, and well, it's just caused a little bit more there. So I'm hoping those two sort it out at a later time, but very, very good fighting beforehand between the three of them, keeping it nice and clean. But on the edge racing, it does seem to cause these sort of incidents, and well, it just showed right there that it can obviously be the worst, and obviously the worst is your teammate, of course.
Yes, rule number 1 of motor racing: don't crash into your teammate. Seems like a fairly straightforward rule, but you would be surprised how many of the greats have managed to get that wrong over the years. Dynastics then does work his way past Lorenz, and now Seb Vet's got a 3-second penalty. So that puts him and Ginger both on 3 seconds. That could be crucial towards the end of the race because of his 5 laps tyre difference between them in terms of freshness, and currently 3 seconds out on track. Faz still leading the race, and the two medium runners from the start of Cedric and Rist in 2nd and 3rd place. Another 2 or 3 laps maybe for those guys on the mediums, would you expect?
I'll probably expect lap 3 or 4. I wouldn't say 2 or 3. I reckon they'll be looking around lap 14, lap 15 time to get on to, well, they'll most likely be doing medium stuff, so I probably suspect in the next 6 or 7 laps, actually, probably. I can't see the softs making it to the end from around lap 30, lap 40. But if they're going onto the hard tyres, which is obviously a much more risky strategy, we would be looking around lap 13, lap 14, maybe lap 15. But I'd expect them to probably take those medium tyres a little longer at the moment.
Yes, and they don't want to obviously risk a puncture. Heavier cars at the start of the race, you've got that fuel load in. Moving all that fuel around does put a lot more load on these Pirelli tyres, and judging by Rist, as he was coming through turn 12 and 13 on that previous lap, it looked as though his rear tyres are pretty much crying enough. Did very well to hold it and avoid spinning the car around. He has, though, well, to be honest, he hasn't really lost a lot of time to Cedric, but you can see that the hard tyres are the quickest ones to be on at the moment. He's got Name Changer and Compassion all over the back of Cedric and Rist, and Faz has already gained about half a second on this lap already.
Yeah, I don't know how Faz has had this pace throughout. Pretty much throughout those hard tyres, he's been keeping that strong gap to Cedric. I don't know if Cedric's had issues or anything, or a bit of fortune for Faz, but really I'm kind of surprised about the pace of the Renault driver out in front for the hard tyres. And Obviously now we would probably suspect him to be around the same, or if not better, than the medium tyres. But he showed great pace in this at the moment, and obviously he's most likely to go on to the soft tyres towards the end of this race. I think it would be a very interesting frame for a track like this, which does see a lot of overtaking. And well, we have our first medium runner in the pit. That would be Rist, and I'm sure he will be onto the hards.
Yeah, so Rist going on to the hard tyres, just perhaps taking a bit too much out of those mediums, maybe a lap or two earlier than he would have liked to do. He's going to have to do 17 laps on those hards. It is easily done, but they're not going to be in the best of condition towards the end. Where is he going to come out then relative to some of the others? I think he's going to come out right in this train for 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th and 13th at the moment. A bit like his teammate did, coming out just ahead of the Williams. Rist ends up coming out just behind them, and you can see Black Phoenix there going very late on the brakes. He's currently in 13th place after being up in 3rd, and for one reason or the other, just looks like this race hasn't gone exactly the way the McLarens would have planned. Black Phoenix getting the drive-through penalty, and M Short obviously with a disconnection, which he could do nothing about.
Yeah, and it's quite unfortunate really, because it was a good impression in qualifying from the McLaren team. And I mean, McLaren obviously Constructors champions last season, looking to defend that with two different drivers this season, and obviously they showed promising signs in qualifying, and at the start of the race as well, as running high in 2nd and 3rd, and obviously it's just all been ruined by that virtual safety car in hindsight, with M Short obviously disconnecting, and obviously Black Phoenix getting that drive-through penalty. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's been a poor day for McLaren, but obviously out of the driver's control in my opinion.
Yeah, not really a lot they could do about that. Cedric then into the pits, which promotes this battle between Name Changer and Compassion for 2nd and 3rd place. 6.5 seconds off Faz, who is doing a very good job on those hard tyres, in the lead at the moment. Compassion trying to get close enough, but he's not really got a lot of DRS. He's got more than Name Changer. You can just see the red light flashing there quickly on his rear and on the rear wing. That means you're below 10% ERS, or you're not using any ERS whatsoever in qualifying, so you're going to be a lot slower in the straights. Cedric comes out just ahead of Rist. This is going to be a really interesting battle towards the end of the race. 6 cars separated by 2 seconds and varying tyre life as well.
Yeah, and obviously we would be fighting for points in a normal scenario, so I wonder if many people will take this as a normal scenario as well, and probably be thinking, I can fight for points here. And again, fighting for pride, it's literally all to play for here. I think all of these drivers are going to be pushing to get past drivers as much as they can. Pat leading this train at the moment, but I mean, something tells me Dynastics isn't going to stay there for long. The fastest man on track in qualifying, of course, getting pole position, looking to potentially take a good result in the race as well. Interestingly, something that we haven't really picked up on is the fact that Seb Bet is still a significant distance to Ginger, so that undercut obviously earlier on worked significantly. However, how long will that work for? Can he make those hards survive to the end of the race? I doubt it, but if he can, well, that's really impressive. But again, I think the strategy was with him, he's still working for a safety car. He's still wondering that there's a safety car going to come out very soon, so he can make up all that time, make up all that positions, and get onto the soft tyres at the end.
Yes, and when you've got the battles that close for 8th position at the moment, it could well happen as Dynastics down the inside of Pat. And just to make it a bit more confusing, they've got Lakitu's Ghost car in the middle of them as well. Cedric managed to get ahead of Rist, but will he stay there? The Alpha Tauri is going to go for the inside here at turn 4. Down the inside he goes. They're still side by side on the exit. Rist is going to have the inside for turn 6. Cedric might have just about got his car far enough ahead and holds on to that 11th place, but all that battling means Lorenz has just got away ever so slightly, but they are still in DRS range, so it shouldn't affect them too much for now. And a man we haven't really spoke about too much in terms of potential race winning is the person who's currently in a net 3rd place. Flying Finn, 5 seconds behind Sebbet, who does have 3 seconds of penalties, 3 and a bit behind Ginger, who also has 3 seconds of penalties, and we both imagine that Seb's tyres are going to be dreadful towards the end. He's got a chance, depending on how well this alternate strategy works for BRT Faz.
I mean, he does, but we know Flying Finn. We know what he was like last season. I'm not gonna lie, I think this would be the most gut-wrenching win ever, wouldn't it, really, to be honest? He had so many opportunities in the actual to score the race win, which actually had a lot more relevance and everything, where points were on the line. As for this, if he takes this win where there's no points on the line, I think it'll be really, really gut-wrenching, and especially if he ends up not winning a single race this season, but he's sitting high-flying in 6th place right now. Like you said, when everyone pits, it will be net 3rd. Seb Vettel is unlikely to take those hards right to the end as well, so I think for Flying Finn, he just needs to stick where he is for now and just stick around and not don't take too many risks at the moment, because at the moment he's got the pace to probably get a podium or a potential victory.
Yes, we will just have to see how this race goes when the top 3 come into the pits. Still, Finn's teammate Compassion stuck behind Name Changer at this moment in time, and now is about the time, if these drivers are going onto the medium tyres, you would be expecting them to come into the pits to really get the best life out of those medium tyres. If Faz pits this lap, he's probably going to come out just behind Flying Finn, maybe just ahead of Louis as well, and would definitely have an opportunity to take the victory in this race, and we are going to see that very shortly. Into the pits he goes. This will be for the set of the medium tyres on the Renault, and that promotes Name Changer into the lead, and it is going to promote Seb Vet and Ginger further up the order. Where is Faz going to come out? You can see Flying Finn heading down the straight now, just managing to come out ahead of Faz. Louis does as well. He's going to have to overtake 4 cars to take the victory in this race on track. Penalties could help him with the top 2. It's looking good, it's fair to say. It is looking pretty good for the Renault driver.
Yeah, in 6th place at the moment, this is a track where you can overtake easily. However, I'm sure these guys who are going to the end, so that would be Ginger, Flying Finn and Louis, particularly Flying Finn and Louis, I think they'll be risking it all, really. I think they will be trying to keep Faz behind as much as possible, try and starve those medium tyres a bit, because those medium and hard tyres have very similar pace when they're both worn, really. So, I mean, Louis making big mistakes like that. I don't think he'd want to see that again, going very wide out of the exit of turn 10. But really, Faz is in a very, very good position, and if he can just close a little bit more, he'll have DRS onto the straight, and it looks like he will have DRS on the straight come the last corner.
Yes, and it looks like Louis is not going to have a lot of ERS to defend with. Probably not going to make a difference into turn 1. Definitely couldn't make a difference coming out of turn 3 and into turn 4. So here we are on board then with the Renault driver. Got a 3rd place overall in F2 last season. So on paper, he's probably a favourite for this championship. And you can just see the difference for grip out of that corner, using the DRS, able to use your ERS. That wasn't even a challenge for Faz. Straight down the outside. Nothing Louis could do about it. The Renault takes 5th place, and Flying Finn, his next target, 1.6 seconds up the road. And it helps slightly, of course, that they're all spread out. There's no DRS train for him to get stuck in.
Yeah, of course, that's another thing as well that perhaps probably has played into his advantage here. And of course, we look at Name Changer still yet to pit. I reckon he'll be onto the soft tyres. He's probably looking at that sort of idea. I don't know really what I think of that personally. Going onto the soft tyres, they do die out pretty quickly, but Seb Vettel probably going to come into the pits as well one more time. Again, I don't reckon it's hard to make it to the end, but interestingly, Ginger right now is probably going to be worrying a little bit, because if he wants his victory, he's going to have to work very hard for it, it looks like.
Yes, at the moment, it works out. He's about 2.5 seconds ahead of Faz. We've 11 laps to go at the end of this one, and much worse tyres at this point in the race. I don't see how he's going to do it unless Faz picks up a penalty or somehow makes a mistake when he's stuck behind Flying Finn. It's going to be pretty tough, I think, for Ginger, but a very decent start to the season from last year's F3 runner-up, and I'm not sure what Seb Vet's going to do. Yeah, if he doesn't want to puncture, he's probably going to have to come in. But that would currently drop him down to 13th position. Yes, he'd be on the soft tyres, but then you're right at the back of the DRS train. Compassion's tyres are fairly new as well. He had to be hoping for a safety car towards the end of this race for this strategy to work.
Yeah, and I think that's what he was looking for. But yeah, I don't think he's got anything really to fight with. I think at the end of the day, he's gonna be behind Compassion, isn't he? So at the end of the day, for Seb Vet, it's just not worked out at all for him, unless obviously something happens in this next lap. But look at that train. You look on the map there. There's a huge train of cars there between Pat and Compassion there. That's a lot of cars in a huge train there. A lot of colours to look at. It's kind of surprising to see that at this time in the race. There's been an incident, though. I say that this could actually be somewhat something for Seb Vet.
Oh, it's Benny with a puncture. Benny has got rear left puncture, 16 laps on the medium tyres, and he's got himself a puncture. That is, well, for the medium tyres, even them you'd expect to maybe be able to do a couple of laps more. Normally you don't push them that long, but Benny with a rear left puncture. This really spices things up now in this race, because it makes the drivers think, am I going to get a puncture at any point soon? And if Benny ends up stacking it in the wall because of that puncture, that could be the safety car that Seb Vet needs and could really change this race. Name changer comes into the pits. He has put a set of soft tyres on that Alfa Romeo, and he is going to come out right on the back of this train, which has just grown by one extra car. We're going to have an 8-car train pretty much soon, battling for 6th position. As yeah, Benny is off again. He's doing a really good job of just keeping this out of the wall, because a front puncture is difficult enough to drive with, but unsurprisingly, a rear Pirelli does not like having 900 horsepower going through it when it hasn't got any air inside. So Benny, it's not been a great race for him after breaking his front wing early on. He's down in 15th, and effectively the last finisher as Lakitu is a ghost car. Oh, Dynastics!
Oh my word. Very close on that corner, turn 7 on the exit there, just bumping across it. And not only that, obviously hit the Alpha Tauri hit in the back, so very unsettled from the Ferrari driver and his teammate. Obviously unsettled with that puncture. Dynastics doesn't have one, but his car went a little wide there, and that's the dirty air playing into effect. And that is all that hard work to keep with Pat and keep swapping that position for 6th place, and that's just gone down the drain a bit as he's now entered 4th into this train. And well, I don't think we'll be seeing many overtakes from him thus far at the moment anymore. So for him, it's not very good news. For Lorenz, it's good news, because now he gets to fight back and get up to 6th place. And well, it could be potentially a lost race win for Dynastics at this point. I feel really, really bad for him. But again, at the end of the day, these things happen. And he's down in 9th place. And well, like I said, no real overtakes probably likely from him for now.
No, and at that point, it looked as though Rist was thinking about a move on Dynastics. He's one of the ones who's going to be to watch in this train, alongside Cedric and then Compassion and Name Changer, because they've got fresher tyres or a softer compound of tyres as well. So if anyone's likely to make a move, it's probably going to be one of them 4 drivers. And here we are on board with Cedric at the moment in 8th position. Did a good job on those mediums at the start of this race, and will be rewarded with a pretty handy 6th place if he gets past the Williams, and who knows, could even work his way up to the back of his team mentalism part of Louis and get a top 5 finish. Oh, as I say that, he's gone way too deep into turn 10 on the brakes with pre-season race, and we're already up to 1 commentator's curse. And there goes Cedric down to 9th. Dynastics getting straight back past him, back towards the lead of this race. Ginger closed up ever so slightly, but the gap seems to have stabilised between himself and the leader Seb Vet at 1.6 seconds at this moment in time, with 8 laps to go. Faz, though, only 3 seconds behind Ginger at the moment. He's not closing up perhaps as quick as I would have expected, but he doesn't really need to if he knows the top 2 have penalties.
Yeah, but not only that, I think he's aware of Seb Vet's tyre age. And I think he'll be thinking, surely they can't make it to the end, because we saw Ginger, I believe, a lot of drivers last season here at Bahrain, they got punches, I believe, on like their 21st lap on the hard tyres. And Seb Vettel, he claims he can make it 7, when there's probably only 5 real laps left in them. And looking at his tyres look awful. And again, I think really the plan was for the Haas driver was to have a safety car at this point. At this point, it would be very profitable indeed to have one. He will lose positions, of course. He will move down a couple, but he won't have them as significant as what he would have if he had a puncture or had to pit now under normal circumstances.
Yes, and I was wondering why Compassion was struggling so much, and there's your answer. He's missing his front right end plate on that front wing, so 13th place to best he's going to be doing. Shame for him, because that strategy on the mediums could have worked out as Name Changer uses those soft tyres, gets his way down the inside of Wrist up into 11th, so he's now going to be trying to snatch himself a top, well, at least a top 10. Who knows how high up the order he could get. We're going to check what the penalty situation is now. Everyone with penalties has got 3 seconds apart from Compassion. He is on 6 seconds. There was such a big gap back to M. Short, who of course disconnected, and that really ruined any chances he had. He will be safe and stay in 13th. But just look at the exit Name Changer has got. It doesn't matter that Black Phoenix got DRS, because the Alfa Romeo is just going to breeze past him anyway on the inside. And Dynastics up ahead thinks about a very late move on Lorenz. He backed out at the last minute. Cedric wasn't expecting it, and now he's managed to break his front wing. That's pretty much a completely innocent party and all that.
Yeah, and Name Changer's actually been distracted by that, and now he was behind Black Phoenix. I think he's just got by him now. Yes, he has. Black Phoenix has a 3-second time penalty. In a normal scenario, I'm pretty sure he'd be appealing that one. Nowhere he could go, but Name Changer up to 9th place now. And, well, he would have been up to 9th place beforehand, but he now is up to 9th place after Black Phoenix did get back by him. It looks like Dynastics, looking from the onboard ahead of him, is a little bit struggling with those hard tyres now. A little bit of a wheel spin off the exit of the corner, but he's going fine for now. But he knows he's got a far quicker driver. And look at that, how much later Name Changer could break there. And I wonder if Dynastics just isn't really going to fight this one out, because he knows that, really, let's be honest, this soft runner is going to be far quicker at the exit of the corners.
Yes, and I think we're going to see a carbon copy of last time around here from Name Changer, where he just gets such a better exit through the final corner. In fact, he's nearly into the back of Dynastics, just purely on the brakes, and that held him up ever so slightly. Are we going to see some moves further up the field? Now, Dynastics went for it last time around on Lorenz, but I think he knows he's just a bit too far behind, maybe, to try the same one this time. And likewise with Name Changer, who again so close to just going into the back of Dynastics because of the extra grip. But those soft tyres will be cooking in the dirty air of both of the Williams and the Ferrari, and you can see Lorenz just went slightly defensive there on Dynastics just in case Cedric's coming to the pits. He comes out in 12th after that incident, and Lorenz almost leaving the door open. That's compromised Dynastics ever so slightly. Name Changer not close enough to send a move down into turn 8. Back out for the front of the race as M Short sets the fastest lap. Top 3 drivers separated by 2 seconds. We're going to see some moves for the lead of this race very shortly.
Yeah, and Name Changer is almost begging to get by right now into 8th place. He's getting very close, but this train is just holding him up, and he's come out in the most unfortunate position of them all behind this train. But like you said, into the lead of this race, I think Seb Vettel's retired. Tyres, not retires. I think his tyres are slightly starting to give him some bother now. Ginger is getting fairly close, and look at Faz. He is so close. He may even look to just dive on Ginger. I doubt it. He won't get close enough, no. But I think this is very good from Faz here. But luckily for Ginger, he's actually got the DRS here. So Ginger at the moment probably aided by that, which is a positive thing. And perhaps if he can get past Seb there as well. Oh my goodness, what on earth has happened to Ginger? He's just straight lined it into the wall. Well, I don't really know what's happened there with Ginger. He just straight lined it into the wall.
Now, unfortunately, I'd flicked away then to see what was happening further down the field, because I saw Ginger was too far back on Seb Vet, and I didn't think anything was going to happen. Has there been we've seen a lot of drivers having wheel bugs on this game. Has there just been another one where it's disconnected and sent him straight into the wall? Because I can't see another reason for that. It's a very late safety car, which is exactly what Seb Vet wanted. He probably wanted it a lap or two earlier, though. We're going to see a lot of drivers dive in for the soft tyres, and we're going to have a very fun final lap or two.
Yeah, well, more interestingly, I don't even think Ginger is even on wheels, so I have no clue what happened there. He just straight lined into the wall, and luckily he didn't hit Seb Vet. really know anything. I don't even know any reason why he would do something like that, but that was very interesting. I think that will be one that would be debated about, and I think there will be questions asked for Ginger there. But yeah, he just straight lined the corner and almost wiped out Sebvet as well. And I think Sebvet probably having a bit of a heart attack there, and he's gone into the pits unsurprisingly. So he's got his wish, but is that wish a bit too late from being granted, because he's going to slip further back, and Faz is now in a very good position to win this race, I must say.
Yeah, I think Sebvet was hoping that the majority of the field would come in, and ooh, Dynastics has he gone into the back of Lorenz there? I think, yeah, there we go, 5-second penalty. I think Lorenz obviously not wanting to get caught on the double stack, slowed down as much as possible, but that's a 5-second penalty then for the pair of them, I would imagine. Sebvet coming out in 6th position on fresh soft tyres. This could work fairly well for Name Changer. He's done 5 laps on them, so they're not at their optimal condition, but he'll be able to save them a couple of laps now under the safety car. Louis and Flying Finn, those hard tyres are going to be very difficult to get up to temperature afterwards. This is going to be an interesting end. Faz looking good purely on the basis that he has no penalties, and apart from Flying Finn and Pat, Cedric and Shaw, everyone else has at least 1 penalty at this moment in time. It's always nice when there's a bit of spice to end the race.
I mean, Faz should be able to make it on those mediums. However, we look back, usually when it's safety cars are this late, they usually come in on the first lap that they've come out. So for Pat here, I think he'd be in a little bit of a rush just to make it to the back of that train, just to make sure that he can get onto the back of it. We may see a message saying that safety cars coming in this lap in a few seconds time, maybe not, who knows. But for Pat, he would be really looking to just get at the back of that grid, and I think he's just about going to make it. And oh no, Faz has left the session. Oh my goodness, this race has just gone incredible now. So Faz has left the session, so Lars, or Flying Finn, is technically now leading this race. And even more interestingly, Name Changer obviously in 4th place, now probably up to 3rd place. What on earth is going on? And Benny's now been disqualified.
Yeah, it's because everyone's overtaking Faz, who has now dived into the pits.
Oh my god.
So this is another one.
Oh no!
This has just changed everything. What is going on here? Now we've got Flying Finn leading.
Oh, no.
He's got no penalties, but he's on extremely old hard tyres. Pat is in 6th on fresh soft tyres. He's got Seb Perfect ahead of him on fresh soft tyres, but he's got a penalty. Name Changer 3rd on old soft tyres with a penalty. This is answers on a postcard as to who is going to A, cross the line to take 1st place, and B, get given 1st place after all these penalties, as we'll just get them up very quickly. You can see there, Dynastics on 8 seconds, 2nd to 5th place, most importantly, only on 3 seconds. This has just changed things. We've had Faz's disconnection and obviously getting reconnected at the worst possible time, just as he'd come into the pits. Benny getting disqualified because he overtook Faz's disconnected car. And with hearing from Ginger, despite his battery not being flat in his controller, it just completely disconnected, and then you've got no control.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with him. He's probably not even wrong, because I actually have that from time to time. I played games and everything, such as FIFA, for example, and just midway through a match, I know my controller's fine, it's got 2 or 3 bars in, and it just clicks off, so it does happen, and that doesn't even take him to the pause menu, it just stops control function completely, so that could be a possibility. It's a very rare possibility, but, I mean, I trust Ginger. I think there was no real reason for him to straight line a corner like that, so I do trust him with it, and I do reckon he was probably correct on that, but wow, what a weird way to retire, and I suppose for Seb there, he's very lucky to still be in this race.
Yeah, and he's got a chance of winning it now. It just all depends on how these final 2 laps go. There's going to be no DRS for the rest of this race, so you're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way with the slipstreaming. Flying Finn, those 17-lap-old hard tyres are not going to want to warm up whatsoever. Neither will the ones on Louis. I don't think the ones on Name Changer and Mist are going to be too great either at this point in the race, so we could see someone come from a long way down, and to be honest, Faz has had no penalties. It wouldn't surprise me that much if he manages to get his way up into a podium here. all of a sudden. We will have to see how it goes. 2 laps to go. Lars lights up the meters, as does Louis out of the final corner, so that's given Lars a fantastic getaway then, almost by default here. And you can see name changer all over the back of Louis already on the run down towards turn 1. And you've got Riss trying to go all the way around the outside on the older hard tyres. He's not able to do so. Louis not really giving name changer as much space as I think the Alfa Romeo driver would have expected there, but he's managed to get the move done, gets a bit of wheel spin, but stays ahead for now. Seb Vet now on the back of all these guys as Louis tries to go all the way around the outside on the old hard tyres. That's really compromised his run, and Riss fancies a look at this as well, so he's now trying to move up into 3rd position. Louis able to hold on around the outside, and Riss just going to find himself shoved wide. Seb Vet, you don't want to be on the outside there as Dynastic spears off towards the barrier, just gives it a slight tap. He's going to finish in 13th place, and that's his chances of getting a good result from this race over with. Lars still in the lead of this race, and he has got a chance as old as Faz, Compassion, Lorenz getting together there. Faz picking up a penalty, so things have really gone from bad to worse for him. Lars can win this race, because the drivers behind him have got penalties at the moment, and he's, unless Name Changer manages to pull away 4 seconds on 1 lap, Lars is looking really good.
This is quite mental, to be honest, really, because we remember to the Dutch Grand Prix last season, it was Lars who was on the softs and Kasper who was on the hards, and a simple mistake from Lars cost him the race win, despite being on the much quicker tyres in the end. And we also look at Name Changer, who he hasn't made particularly any mistakes except for getting that penalty, so at the end of the day, Lars at the moment is in a very good position, and again, I said this at the start, didn't I? For him, in any sense of the question, he's won this race, but I'm sure this would be very heart-wrenching from him. He could have won any time last season, really. He could have won many races and could have even taken the championship last season. It's just not to be. But in pre-season, the next season, he takes the victory, and well, I guess everything resets itself. Hopefully, it is the beginning of something good for Lars this season.
Yeah, Cedric's had an accident, so he's now out of this race. Dynastics has retired in the pits. We're pretty much down to 11 runners, and we're going to be, I think, it's going to be difficult for the race this season to maybe have as much drama towards the end as this one. Compassion and Black Phoenix battling over what is now last position, and despite all the penalties and everything that's gone on...
Oh no! I was going to say, Pat's gone into the back of Riss there, and now he's got his teammate to worry about. I don't think it'll be too much issues because he hasn't got penalties, but he's just not had the restart, has he, Pat? Really, he's down to 7th place, and well, what could have been a race win for him as well. He hasn't gone and snatched it, and well, I'm going to leave this one to you then, because he's come around the final corner.
Yeah, it's going to be a drag race towards the line, but Flying Finn is going to take the victory here. Name Changer gets second for now. Seb Vet get a 3rd position. Louis drops down a few places. It is Pat who ended up in 4th. Everyone was that close together that I don't really have an idea who else finished anywhere. Rist in 5th position. Like you said, like Holland last year, being on the hard tyres after the safety car seems like the worst idea, but if there's mistakes from the drivers behind you and a bit of contact, it can end up being the best idea in the end. And Lars, penalties cost him the win in round 1 last season at Austria, but in this pre-season race here at Bahrain, he has took a victory, and I'm sure he will be absolutely delighted with that. Great job from Name Changer as well to get a 2nd position, and Seb Vet, he got the safety car that he wanted, and in the end that was good enough to get him a 3rd position. As we look through the rest of the results, Pat keeping it clean to get a 4th position. Again, what could have been for him. Rist 5th, Lorenz 6th, Louis in 7th, Black Phoenix 8th, M Short 9th, BRT Faz, who was pretty much odds on to win the race at one point, can only finish in 10th thanks to that disconnection. Him and M Short will be wondering what could have been. Thankfully for them, it is only pre-season. Compassion, the final finisher. Cedric and Dynastics retiring on the final lap. Lakitu disconnected early on after making a few mistakes. Benny had that puncture, and then he got disqualified, of course, for passing Faz's AI car, and Ginger and Zach both crashing out. Quite an entertaining race. Sometimes these pre-season ones are, because like you said, they're not really fighting for anything, so they don't really have to think about a championship.
Yeah, and I mean, all these drivers gave their all today.
Yeah, there could even be a few teammate relationships being tested there because the two McLarens nearly came together. The two Williams did come together at one point in the race, and looking back, that might be what cost Pat and Lorenz possibly the victory.
Really, it's just not been a very good day for him, and I think he will come back fighting. He's a quick driver, Pat is, and he showed good pace, but we'll just have to wait and see really with Pat this season because he had the opportunity there and he kind of blew it.
I mean, yeah, there were so many drivers who think they had a chance. We saw, obviously, M Shorts having that disconnection. Same thing that happened to Faz as well. They'll be a bit gutted. One man who won't be gutted, though, is Flying Finn, taking the victory here today. And that must feel good, because the end of last season didn't go the way you would have hoped, so it's good to maybe put that to the back of your mind with a win in the pre-season race.
Yeah, I'm so happy because last season it didn't go well. So yeah, I'm really happy, a bit of lucky with the disconnect from Fez. But yeah, overall, I'm really happy to start the season in this way.
And did you consider pitting perhaps under the safety car for the soft tyres, or were you fairly confident with how the hards felt? Did you feel like you wouldn't have too much problem getting them warmed up after the safety car?
Yeah, if his AI didn't go to the pits, he would have won for sure.
But yeah, again, good job from yourself. Is there any races in particular you're looking forward to this season? Because quite a different calendar. We've got a few races, for example, Russia, Singapore, Mexico, that weren't there last season. Obviously, Silverstone's making a return, and Japan as well. Is there any races in particular you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the street circuits, so like Monaco and Singapore. I like that there are really much wheel tracks. Some of the guys doesn't like it, but I like it.
Yeah, Singapore's always seems to be quite an interesting race, actually. Have you got what are your hopes then for this season? What's your expectation? Are you setting any at the moment, or do you already have an idea where you think you'll be?
Yeah, before this race, I was hoping for top 10 positions, but I'm in P1, so I'm really happy, man.
Yeah, definitely went well for yourself. Sam, do you have any questions for our race winner?
No real questions tonight.
Well, congratulations to yourself, Lars. A good job. We did invite the other two drivers, Name Changer and Seb Vet, but they've not joined us quite as of yet. But yeah, congratulations to yourself, Lars, and we'll see you in a week's time for round 1 of the season at Australia.
Yeah, thanks for commentating.
No worries. Cheers. So Sam, that race has shown us one thing. There's a lot of fast drivers in this field, and it's going to end pretty close. Even with or without a late safety car, it was going to be a pretty close finish.
Well, I think this has actually given us some sort of... I think this has got to be some sort of good vibe for this season already. We obviously saw last season Kalsper dominate, which I think for a lot of people that kind of got very old quite quickly. But this season, I think this race just describes the season. That final bit after the safety car, it just describes the unpredictability. Who would have thought that Flying Finn would have been on the top step of the podium? And obviously, that's not an insult or anything to his pace. But we looked at this grid at the start of tonight, and we did look at names. We looked at Lakitu, we looked at Faz, who, in my opinion, probably would have gone on to win if it weren't for what happened to him. But we looked at Pat as well. We look at a lot of names on that F2 grid last season. We looked at Dynastics, who looked to have started the season off well with the pole position. But really, at the end of the day, I don't think many people after qualifying would have thought Lars. And I think that's what makes this season extra special. It just seems like this season is going to be a long ride, and I suppose a very unpredictable one, because at the moment I have no real favourite to win this championship after tonight.
Yeah, as we said, there is going to be 12 races this season, so we'll end the stream quickly by going through what the calendar is going to be. Starting off next week then in Melbourne, Albert Park. Then we head across back to Britain for Silverstone. Belgium will be the final race before the Christmas break. Then we all head over to France for the circuit Paul Ricard on just after New Year's. Short hop over to the Côte d'Azur for the Monaco Grand Prix. That is always a challenging one for the drivers. Pretty much the opposite of Monaco. Ends the first half of the season. Italy for round 6. Russia round 7. Singapore round 8. A trip to the Americas for USA and Mexico rounds 9 and 10. Abu Dhabi will be the penultimate race of the season. And will we see another Suzuka title decider Japanese Grand Prix, which for the F3 drivers will be on the 8th of March. So make sure to be with us for all them races, because if tonight's anything to go by, you are not going to want to miss them. Cheers for all the drivers. Cheers to all you guys for coming along as well. Thanks to Sam for joining me. Us two will be taking you through all the action this season. Make sure to check out the first official race of Season 27. The Formula Performance will be tomorrow. And then the lower leagues are on Thursday, mid-leagues on Sunday. Us, F1, F2, F4, F5 and F6 are on the Monday. So make sure to check us all out. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you soon. Goodbye.